Alex, let's talk about what you wanted to talk about, and I'm going to allow you to introduce the topic via this video, the video that I just mentioned with Rafe of Kim Johnson MP, who is a Scouser obviously up in the Liverpool area, and she had this to say on the Chris Kaba case.
I'd also like to send my condolences to the family, friends and loved ones of Chris Kaba, particularly this week while the media are using racist gang tropes to justify the killing of Chris Kaba. 1,900 people have died in police custody since 1990. 1990. And I would say that the police do have protections. You know, we know that our black communities are over-policed and under-supported. So can the Home Secretary give us assurances that we and our communities are kept safe and that extra protections are not given to the police because they already have the protections they need?
I mean, I don't know about you, but I just found that intervention absolutely extraordinary. And there's one by our good friend Diane Abbott on the same issue. But, you know, the protections for police, let's not give the police any more protections. Sorry, what? This man, Martin Blake, Sergeant Martin Blake, has had his name dragged through the press. He's had a court case. He's potentially risking losing his job now, all because he did his damn job.
Yeah, it's completely insane. Can I just first of all start by saying I think Rafe is absolutely wonderful, by the way. I've met him a few times in the green room at GB News, such an intelligent man. And thankfully he started this off quite nicely for me. We were talking about someone like Chris Kaba. It's quite shocking seeing what went down in Parliament today. I'm glad you showed that video, Darren. And of course, I encourage everyone to go watch Diane Abbot's statement as well. But, you know, I will praise Yvette Cooper today. For the first time, I think I'm going to praise this Labour government because she was trying to put forward plans that would, you know, keep these firearm officers safe, keep them safe from retaliation. And there's a bounty on Martin Blake's head now by gangs across London. They're saying the first person to kill him, I think, is up to £10,000 or something like that. Crazy. We should be protecting our officers. And this goes back, actually, slightly further into this case, because when Chris Kaba's case, the murder trial against Martin Blake was acquitted and he was found innocent, Chris Kaba's mother actually pushed for the officer's name to be released. But not only did she push for his name to be released, but she pushed for her son's criminal background to be kept a secret. It's absolutely intolerable to me to think that this mother, a woman who of course has lost her son at a human level, would think that it would be okay for this police officer who was just doing his job and was acquitted in only 3 hours, which is incredible speed for a jury to act on, by the way, and to then have the mother go, no, his criminal background must never be known to the public. It seems to a lot of people that she wants to milk it and portray Chris Kaba to be something that he absolutely is not. The man is a criminal. Now, let's not forget that the day he was unfortunately killed, the police found gunpowder on the sleeve of his jumper. He was driving a car suspected of being in the drive-by shooting just days before. And of course, now all the clips have emerged of Chris Kaba at a club shooting one of his gang rivals there twice in public. That any of those bullets could have hit an innocent member of the public, by the way. Cared little to zero care about that. And we've still, on top of all of that, we've still had BLM and these deranged, disgraced societies come forward and say he needs justice. Well, I tell you what, justice was served the day that Martin Blake fired that weapon. I don't want these criminals on our street. I have no sympathy for Chris Kaba and the situation he was in. He was not an innocent man. He could have surrendered at any point in time. And I'm just disgusted that the far left in our country think that this is a hill to die on. If anything, it's exposed them for what they are, which is grifters trying to get money and provoke the British public into a race war at this point.
Yeah, well, very well said, Alex. A round of applause. fact of the matter is, I mean, Rest Within on YouTube says the police have the worst job, the danger of getting stabbed at work. And then you've got Kim Johnson there saying what she just said, but then you've also got Diane Abbott saying this, Eunice.
Unhappiness and even riots. One death that comes to mind is that in 1985 of Cynthia Jarett, who died of a heart attack when 4 policemen burst into her house. Her death triggered the Broadwater Farm riots. So does the Home Secretary accept that nothing could be more damaging for police-community relations than if the idea took hold that in some way the police were above the law?
Well, Eunice, no one is suggesting that the police are above the law, but what they are suggesting is that if you are a marksman for the Metropolitan Police and you put yourself in harm's way every single time that you go out onto the streets, and you've got a gang member who refuses to make a hard stop and instead seeks to ram through it, that officer should then expect their life to be turned upside down when he is forced to use his weapon and fire one single shot. You know, this was no rampage with a firearm. This was one single shot as the bloke sought to ram the convoy of police officers. So where do we draw the line here? Because it strikes me from Kim Johnson to Diane Abbott, to BLM, there are race-baiting activists seeking to actually ensure that the police's lives are made an absolute bloody misery, even seeking to bring out incidents that took place in the bloody 1980s.
Always the young black men that are the victims, and somehow the police only targets young black innocent men that have no blame, and the police just picks on them, and we have a racist police that loves to kill young black men. But this is not true. As you said, the police officer was attacked and then he killed him by one shot. We also saw it recently in a case in America, in a case of Sidney Wilson, that attacked a police officer with a knife, slashed him on many occasions, and then the police officer was forced to kill her, sorry. And at first that was also a racially motivated killing, and then once the body cam footage was released, we realized that no, it wasn't. The police officer's life was in danger. Okay, and I've always said this, even throughout the BLM protests. I really think Black Lives Matter is a scam. It's race baiting, it's race hustlers that try to basically make something out of nothing and pretend they are the victims. But in reality, a black Harvard professor proved that black people are actually killed at a lesser rate than white people in America, unarmed black people. Okay, and he's a black Harvard professor. And then the ironic thing is that after he published his findings, he had to live under police protection because the black community had sent him death threats. So if you just want to talk about irony, there's nothing more ironic than that. And as I said, I just hate identity politics, and Diane Abbott are the queen of identity politics. She started her career through identity politics, and the reason why she's still in this Labour government is because of identity politics.
Yeah, well, she's not in government, thank God, but she was going to be Home Secretary under Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, can you bloody well imagine that? But Chloe, 80 says it's only black that they actually report on, and that's probably true, is it not? Because the Kaba story has been given this almighty press coverage because of the fact that it was a young black man that was killed. But what about, if the police were to shoot, or all the horrible things that have happened that you've covered on Reason with the case of a suicide of one of the guys that actually was jailed, banged up for shouting at police officers. I mean, there are injustices happening all over the place, but because they're not black, they don't get coverage. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a fair comment. If this was a white guy, you definitely would not be seeing anywhere near the same amount of coverage. And what scares me with the amount of coverage that this is getting is that other police officers are going to look at this and they're going to see how the life of this police
Yes.
officer was completely ruined. And, even though he's been found innocent now, sounds like everyone's out to get him and thinks, the judge was just wrong. And he's probably going to basically have to live in hiding now, worried of himself having his life taken on the streets because of the mob coming against him. I think other police are going to look at this and think, I'm too scared to arrest a black man. I'm too scared to get involved if someone is not white. And as someone who lives in London, I see the streets getting less and less safe. And whenever I go out anywhere central in London, you see the gangs walking around all with their hoodies up and all, they may be more interested in hurting each other than hurting normal members of the public. But, it's pretty unnerving when you see literal gangs just walking around freely and nobody's doing anything about it. And I think that problem is going to get worse. We're going to see crime going up in the capital, and people of all different colours are going to lose their lives. It's not just phone thefts in the capital as a consequence. So this is very, very concerning. And also, just on your point, Darren, about the mother insisting that this guy's record is not released, it is so important that this record is not released, because just like how with the Southport stabbings, there was this void because we didn't have information about who the stabber was, we then had riots. You'll see the same situation here. If people don't realise that this is a guy who was a prolific gang member who shot other people, this is not a nice guy. This is not I can't remember the MP's comments, but it was something like valued member of the community.
Yeah, Kim
right?
Johnson and Diane Abbott,
If they don't realise that, they are all going to come out in droves to protest and, maybe potentially riot about this killing. And that is very, very concerning to me.
I think they'd quite like that, to be honest. I think anything to continue the grift, that's what they ultimately want. The fact of the matter is, what we saw in the clips that were released after the court case in which Sergeant Martin Blake was cleared was a video of Kaba actually taking a gun in a nightclub and shooting someone and following them out on the street to shoot them some more. The idea of that kind of gang warfare going on in Britain, why does that not get any damnation from the members of the parliamentary Labour cabal? Why actually is it exclusively reserved for a white officer who did his job? That's the, I can't make heads or tails of it, only other than to say that actually, should we not argue that they have some racial biases going on here? Because you can damn bet your bottom dollar that if it was a white gang member that was shot like this, they wouldn't be bleeding heart liberals in the parliamentary chamber over this.
Well, I mean, just one more point on the gangs there. Remember, I can't remember, it was late last year or something like that, we had the Metropolitan Police decide that they were going to scrap their gang matrix with all the data that they have on gang members in London, that they were going to scrap it, mostly because of the fact that they thought that black people were overrepresented in the matrix, i.e. there were more black people than white people listed as gang members on it, and it was presumed that this was just because of institutional racism or something, right? The Metropolitan Police scrapping that up, which is vital data, important for keeping our streets safe, because apparently we're all racist, is just bonkers, and this country is going to get a heck of a lot more unsafe if this kind of BS continues.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk, and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.